decided to team up with Metal Mulisha this year and also offer a contest which will start next week, but you'll be the first to see this now. And what we're doing is we're going to launch a contest this year where somebody will be able to win an official ESP Metal Mulisha motorcycle, a flyaway trip to X Games, meet and greet with Brian Deegan and all the Supercross guys. And so this contest will start, as I said, next week from NAMM, going on through June. So it's a 6-month contest that we're able to do, and we're just very excited that we're able to actually bring the world of rock and roll sports and be able to put it together in one package. So for us, this has been a very big contest, because generally we're used to doing the flyaways and the guitar giveaways, but now that we've teamed up with this and the sports world and everything else, we're really hoping that it's going to take off, and we're seeing the positive reaction from everybody right now. So this is our latest and greatest contest that we're going to be moving forward on. And so again, once I said all the information, everybody can go to espguitars.com or metalmulishaguitars.com.
If we could actually bring this a little bit forward, yeah, that would be great.
And then everybody can get the details from that. And so again, you'll be able to win this Honda 250 Metal Mulisha ESP branded motorcycle.
Obviously, this is a typical case of trying to think a little bit outside the box. You know, we've for a long time associated ourselves with the artists who have done so well for ESP, and now bringing into this extreme sports lifestyle type of thing, we feel it lines up very well with who many of the ESP customers are. Hence this motorcycle that I'd kill myself if I got on right. So we won't do that. I want to step backwards for 1 second. We actually have some other guitars other than the Metallica stuff I do want to review real quickly. ESP has always been very well known for our signature series guitars, and it goes far beyond just Metallica. This year, here at the 2009 NAMM show, we have new signature series models from Llexi Leon of Children of Bodom. We have a new model for George Lynch, who's also been a very, very long time ESP endorsee. Gus G of Firewind, you can actually look at that beautiful red thing right there, right above John Levy's head there. It's very nice. We have new finishes of guitars from Will Adler of Lamb of God. We have a new guitar from Wayne Static of Static X. One from Dan Jacobs of Atreyu. And we also have a special new model. I would like to actually indicate this one as well. Page Hamilton, who is well known as being an innovative guitar leader, is celebrating his 20-year anniversary of his relationship with ESP. And the Page Hamilton MG, which is offered both as an ESP and an LTD model, is based on Page's very, very first model that he came to ESP and designed a custom model from. You'll notice it's about as extremely individual, I guess you would say, as any guitar you'll ever see, with a bright, bright magenta finish. It's got a pickup ripped out of it. It's got a couple knobs ripped out of it. But it looks like Page's guitar, and it really, really celebrates his 20 years of working with ESP going back to the very beginning. So I didn't want to be remiss and leave that. Again, all of this stuff, including all the new LTD models, there's some new LTD 401 series, which includes some things that a lot of our users have been asking for over the years. We've added a Floyd Rose to our EC shape, to our V-shaped guitar, to our EX-shaped guitar. Very exciting. These are literally things that our customers have been, I'd say begging. Would begging be the right word?
Begging would be the right
Crying,
word.
whining, all kinds of stuff. They've been asking for it for a very, very long time, and now we're able to offer those things. So that's basically most of the product news and our promotion news.
I would like to introduce Mr. Eddie Kramer, Llexi Leon, and Rob from Eternity Center. So please feel free. Llexi will discuss some of the ideas. One of the guitars that he's holding is one of his custom painted finishes from the comic. And what's been really spectacular about it is the comic will also be spawning cartoon movies later on. What's brilliant about this is all the music that's going to be done with this will be produced and engineered by none other than Eddie Kramer.
You guys may also be wondering, why is this related to ESP Guitars? Well, we're going to talk, and we're going to let Llexi and Eddie and the guys over here talk for a second, but Llexi was a big fan of ESP and ESP's artists, and he came up with the idea, and we've all seen the popularity of comics and how that's translated into video games, movies, those type of things. It's huge in today's society. Llexi came up with the idea of having his comic characters interact with real-world artists, and Llexi, tell us, you've been working with some actual ESP endorsees for these comics. Who are some of those guys?
I mean, the first guy I approached was Doc Coyle from a band called God Forbid. Fantastic kind of technical thrash kind of guy, and he's a great guy, and he loved comics anyway. You know, and I found that in the metal genre, lots of these thrash bands, power bands, they got lyrics that lend themselves greatly to fantasy realms and comic book storylines. One of the first comics that involves an ESP artist is issue 2 of Eternal Descent, which has Doc Coyle and the band God Forbid, who are ESP guys, Dallas Coyle, the second guitarist, also using ESPV. And you know, they had like a tune called Into the Wasteland, and it's the whole song is about basically a post-apocalyptic landscape and everything crumbling around them. So I was like, you know, that's cool, we can do that, let's animate that, let's draw that, let's put them in that post-apocalyptic world and give them, you know, allies and enemies in that world and make it real and flesh out the story. And I think there's a lot of ESP artists with a great image and story behind them in their lyrics and in their appearance. You know, a guy like Wayne Static, he's already a superhero. You know, this guy, you know, you just have to look at him and you think, you know, that guy should be shooting lightning bolts out of his guitar right now. You know, so it was all there. You know, even the body shapes of ESP, you know, things like the F series and the EX series are radical looking guitars that should be used by superheroes and supervillains. So it just came into place easily.
So let me ask you something, Llexi. You're a graphic artist, you're a musician. Why is the legendary Eddie Kramer sitting next to us at this point?
I'm very lucky, and I think that's about the only answer I can give you.
Specifically though, and you told me when we spoke that you had this comic book, and sometimes, you know, an art piece like a comic book can start and end as a comic book. But Eddie seemed to see something different in that.
Well, it didn't start out as a comic book in my case. Originally I had single pieces of art, concept landscapes, and I did actually have an album of my own that I self-produced, self-released, and subsequently I had an EP that I self-produced and self-released, and Eddie heard that material and seemed to think the project was very cool. It's experimental stuff, it was concept albums, you know, you're talking strings and keyboards and guitars and, you know, the whole works. To create landscapes, we had sound effects and surround sound explosions and God knows what else going on in there. So Eddie sort of saw the potential of that from a cinema point of view. You know, it was like a movie soundtrack combined with a talking book, combined with a technical metal album, you know, which I guess caught people's interest.
I'll bet it did. Could you actually give the mic to Eddie for a moment? We can find out from the horse's mouth exactly what's going on with this. Eddie Kramer.
Did you say horse's mouth?
I did. It could have been much worse, I promise you.
I'll bet it, yes.
Eddie, for those of the folks who are out here who are possibly new to the industry or just not familiar, let's talk about a little bit about you. I understand you've engineered or produced a couple bands that these folks may have heard of.
Yeah, they're basically a lot of old demo bands from the 60s and 70s, like the Stones and Zeppelin. There's a guy with fuzzy hair named Jimi Hendrix, and we did a couple of albums together. So yeah, it's that sort of stuff.
You notice when I say the word legendary, I don't throw that out loosely. Eddie actually does qualify. So how did you first hear about this project, Eddie?
Well, it was a strange story. It actually came through Rob. I was producing a band that Rob was in, and we did an album at EMI Abbey Road, and because of that album, Rob and I became friends, and he said, you know, there's this kid in London, and I've got to send you what he's been doing. So I got an email from him, and it showed, you know, a couple of pictures and some music, and I said, this is bloody marvellous stuff, mate. I think we can do something here. And it was just very exciting, you know, here's the interesting thing. Here's a young kid, he's 22, 23 years old, and an old fart like me, and I'm going, bloody hell, it's marvellous, I can do something. You see, so it's the old and the new all getting together. It's movies, it's magic, it's cartoons, it's the comic book, all of this all put together. And if kids today don't eat this up, I'll be a monkey's uncle, and I probably am.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to this whole project coming to fruition. Wanted to give you guys the heads up on this, basically, for the time being, and it's a progress that's in work. He's already been working through the first couple series of the comic. He's on number three right now.
With Treyu.
Okay, and
Yeah, we've got issue 3 with the Treyu going.
okay, so we have the band of Treyu featured in issue number 3 of Eternal Descent.